Hi, everyone. I was 17 years old when this happened, and it still bothered me. Till this day, I use it as a scary story to tell friends, and it gets them every time, but they don't know it's a true story. My family has always been in the business of death. My great-grandfather was a mortician, and somewhere along the tree that turned us into funeral home operators, there's money to be made from the dead, but in a good way. A scary, morbid job, but someone has to do it. We always lived in this small town in the North Dakota area, almost a secluded kind of place, surrounded by a ring of trees and wilderness for miles. It's a nice town, which is made up by rich folk, and was always a clean and friendly place. My father who owned the place, and would be passed down to me. Since my older sister moved away, and wanted nothing to do with the business, the dead bodies never bothered me, because it was always a curiosity to me. One Sunday night, as I was having dinner with my mom and dad, in front of the TV, I could see lights shining across the wall coming from the driveway. "Dad, Tom's here." Tom was the guy who would bring the bodies usually. But this time he was with someone new, and I thought it was just a trainee. Since Tom was getting kind of old, my dad goes down to the garage, aka loading bay, where he would take the bodies, and use a small freight elevator, which would lead to the basement. But this time when I looked out the window, I see my dad and Tom talking along with who I thought was a trainee. My dad usually only crosses his arms when he is concerned or disagrees with something, and I instantly knew something was off. There were numerous of times I would help my dad prep a body for viewing, but as I came down the stairs, I see him wheeling down the hall with the body wrapped in a black bag. He looks at me in the eye. "This one's on me, son. Sit this one out. Maybe next time." "Okay," I nodded my head, and watched him wheel into the back, and the doors shut behind him. Mom calls me from the top of the stairs. "Junior, you got homework to do, don't you?" "Yes, Mama." "Right on it." I went to my room to do my work, as I was told, and maybe sometimes around 9 p.m., I fell asleep at my desk. I later wake up around 2 a.m. with my papers sticking to my face, groggy eyes and head kind of spinning. My hand slightly shakes as I grab my water bottle. And that's when the light started to flicker. It would happen before when my dad would use certain type of tools in the basement, but this flickering was more frequent and more intense. It was just worse than before. I tapped my finger on the light bulb on my desk, but it was still the same effect. Leaning back and stretching in my chair, followed by a brief yawn, I finished my bottle of water and was thinking of another, maybe colder. I make my way out of my bedroom and down the hallway, slowly down the stairs, as to not disturb my mom's sleep, and knew Dad was probably still in the basement. Walking down the stairs, I could faintly hear a banging kind of shuffling sound. Thinking maybe it was my cat or dog, but I distinctly remember the cat being in my room, and the dog usually was sleeping with Mom. I turn the corner away from the stairs, and I see the chapel doors slightly open. Slowly taking steps ahead, and down the hall. I can see the kitchen light on, but my curiosity got the best of me. I slowly approach the chapel entrance, and can see the dim lights on, and down the aisle, I see the casket shaking side to side, and slightly jumping, which was unusual. My heart started to pound with a sudden great fear hitting me, like a cold wind chilling me to the bone. My hands shook and breathing got heavy. I watched the casket shake, and the more I looked at it, the more violent it appeared to get. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, and never seen anything like this before, obviously. And that's when I felt hands on my shoulders and spin me around. My dad turned me in his direction. "Get upstairs now, don't look back, go into your mother's room, and lock the door." He pushes my hand towards the steps, and I see him walk into the chapel, closing the doors behind him. The sound of banging got louder and hard crashing sounds. I run upstairs and Mom is standing at the top of the stairs, and we both run into the master bedroom, closing the door, locking it. I sat with her on the bed, wondering what was going, as I texted with a few friends, who were late night people. 7 a.m. came around, and I heard a car pulling up, and it was Tom. I see my dad coming out from the loading dock, pushing the shaking casket, which by then had settled down. My dad and Tom yelling at one another, and they load up the body in the back of a truck, and off he goes. Soon after, my dad comes up the stairs, and Mom is asleep in her bed holding her pillow. I open the door to see my dad leaning on the wall. Halfway up the stairs, I go down a few steps above. "Dad, what was that? What happened?" I see sweat dripping down the side of his face, and a fear within him that I never thought I would ever see. He wipes his brow and lets out a shaky sigh. A girl in town came back from a vacation, and she started to feel ill for some strange reason, but it turns out there was something off about her type of sickness. For a few weeks, she started to suddenly talk to herself, talk to someone who wasn't with her, showing signs of aggression and paranoia. No one knew what was wrong, so a priest was called, and turns out she was possessed by a demon apparently. For 3 later on, they tried around the clock to expel what was inside her, but it just wouldn't leave. No matter what they did, eventually she died during her last exorcism. It choked her to death. She was gone, but somehow the demon didn't leave her body. At night it would shake within the girl's body, and would cause some sort of a manifestation, or something like that. For a few hours the body shakes violently. I couldn't handle it, and so I called Tom to pick up the body and take it elsewhere. I don't know where it's going next, but I know for sure that thing is still in that body. And to me, I think it wants out. When I was working on her, I felt like something was hovering over me the whole time. I couldn't breathe, couldn't see. I started hearing noises coming from the fridge container where the other bodies are, and I just laid down, wrapped her in plastic, and laid her in a casket, hoping nothing would happen. But she shook. No matter what I did, it wouldn't stop shaking. even weighing it down, did nothing. Tom came and picked her up, and I could care less where it's going, as long as it's out of here. Just hearing all that from my dad, one of the toughest people I know. I seen him fight 3 guys at a street BBQ with a stab wound and still keep swinging. Seen him walk off almost painless with a broken arm, with little to no reaction. But seeing how much this really bothered him, really bothered me. We never found out where the girl's body was taken, or what had happened at all. I still wonder to this day, and like I said before, it scares me. I at times get paranoid that I'll someday have one of these experiences myself. I do run the funeral home now, and I got my son, who is nearly 16, who is curious about the business himself. But I don't think I could ever get him to help me, like I helped my dad. Just can't help but wonder, what was in that girl's body? And why did it refuse to leave after several exorcisms? I'll never know, and kind of want to know, but going through that type of experience is a one-time thing for me. I hope you all liked the story. If you liked it, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.